Welcome to this YouTube channel and welcome to a little different setting, as we're not on my channel this time, we're on the channel of Tiedmovies. It's the first video in a series where we collaborate on creating some commentary for really iconic movie and TV show scenes, where we go a little bit into details on what ties are realistically presented in TV and shows nowadays. The plan is that one of these videos gets released every week, the first video here on YouTube, and the other videos on the Patreon channel of Tiedmovies. So in case you enjoy this type of video and want to see more of these, go check it out. The links are down below in the video description. Let's talk about the first screenshot from the first movie we're going into. The first movie we're going into and the first screenshot is from Clash of Titans, the movie's from 1981. It's a fantasy adventure that follows the character Perseus saving the princess Andromeda. It's a scene towards the end of the movie where Andromeda is tied to a stone near the ocean. It's a punishment demanded by the gods because her mother claims that she's more beautiful than them. You can see her being chained up on the cliffs. You can obviously see, especially because it's such an old movie from 1981, that these stones are not real stones. They mostly look like they're built by hand. It's fake stones. It's pretty obviously fake stones. And we cannot see in the screenshot how the chains are attached. But the construction that holds her hands it's hard to tell by the perspective, but one of her hands is sitting really low in the left chain and the other hand is sitting relatively high, where it's like below the wrist. So I would say it's not really fully tightened. And like in a lot of movies or scenes like these, obviously for the safety of the actor, and in case anything goes wrong, they're most likely not fully tightened, in just a visual aspect to create the illusion of her being tied up in this situation. I cannot 100% tell if this is actually metal. It has the visuals of like a rusty old metal-like material, but it's most likely also metal, just because the bumps on the material don't really look realistic, because bumps like this wouldn't get created through like smithing or like forging in any way. It's most likely a different material that's just supposed to create the illusion of being metal. And the chains that connect them are maybe metal, but I wouldn't even be sure about this because they also look weirdly bumpy. I cannot describe it better than saying it looks weirdly bumpy, but it doesn't look like a real chain, not even rusty. They most likely choose this option just to give it a little bit of a feeling of like an ancient civilization, and obviously technology wasn't that advanced in that scenario, so it makes sense to make it look like less perfect than metal chains or cuffs that we would know nowadays. But yeah, it's pretty obviously staged. They're not fully tightened. So yeah, I think to finish it up, saying the contrast between hair being so pretty in the front of the image, all dressed up in this beautiful dress, and then the rusty metal and the like brown grayish stone in the background is just a really beautiful contrast that makes the scene so mesmerizing. Let's go to the next one. The second scene that we're looking at is from Death Note, The Last Name. It is the real life adaptation from 2006 of the well-known mangaka and anime Death Note. And in this scene, it happens towards the end of the movie or relatively late in the movie. It's an interrogation scene between one of L's detectives and the girl that they suspect to be the second Kira in the movie. And we can see her in the scenery in a relatively clean concrete room that is probably supposed to like show a classic interrogation room, like walls sealed off, you can't hear any sounds. And she's in a white dress or something similar, in white fabric, tied to a chair-like contraption that looks relatively interesting, honestly. Coming to the restraints that I used here, looking at the pictures, we can see that the left and right hand from her are fixed. So the visuals of the cuffs that her hands are restrained with remind a little bit of the Segofix fixtures, but if you take a closer look on it, it's most likely just a leather buckle that's also not fully tightened. You can see her hands hanging down in it, and she has such tiny and small hands that she probably most likely could just pull her wrists out of it, what's probably also just a safety measure in a movie production like this. The other fixtures that hold her in position are most likely 2 leather straps or rubber straps. Under buckle is supposed to hold her towards the shirt so she doesn't fall over, and the second buckle is most likely also supposed to keep her arms a little bit more in position and keep her from moving any further. And then we have the, in my opinion, most interesting piece of this picture, and that's the, well, how do we call it? It's a specific type of blindfold with an under chin restraint. So we cannot exactly see in the picture how it's tightened, but there's most likely one strap going over the top of her head. The other strap that's visual goes under her chin. There's most likely a third strap that will go behind the ears to hold all of it in position. This is a relatively interesting blindfold that you would not exactly find like this in actual gear you can acquire, but there's a few options that are similar, because these blindfolds are relatively nice because they keep the nose free and also at the same time give the ability to like actually blindfold someone, as like normal fabric blindfolds or similar stop above the nose or on the nose. So because of the natural shape of most human faces, or because of the natural shape of a face, there's always a little bit of light or always a little bit of like possibility to look out of it when you look down, just because how the human face is shaped. So these types of blindfold normally don't let any light in compared to a fabric blindfold that would normally let much more light into the eyes, and also goes relatively high on her forehead. So it actually is a really nice picture or a really nice image of a blindfold that in this way probably could be used in like a real life scenario, or like it could be acquired as real gear. What makes this most likely the most realistic part out of this image, and the other things are more just staged. I would say my highlight out of this is the blindfold solution for sure, and the rest is more for visuals than for actual functionality. Okay, let's move on to the last picture. The last movie we're talking about is Funhouse from 2019. This movie jumped a little bit on a combination of, let's say, the classic Saw movie and a little bit of Squid Game. So it's a mysterious showmaster that no one knows that starts a game with influencers that visit a remote house, so everything is live and get filmed. And they're slowly figuring out throughout the show or throughout the movie that it's a death trap. This is the scene that really shows them that this is not just a game and what the real intentions behind this game show is. And it's when one of the contestants gets strapped to the floor by both arms and both legs. So this scene is most likely, in case there's no CGI involved in it, the most realistic scene that we see here, because the person, at least from the visuals of the shot, is actually fully suspended from all 4 arms and is actually in the air. Once again, we don't know if CGI was used in this shot, so there is always a chance that she's just laying on like a green foam brick that was edited later out. They did certainly a great job, if it's edited or not. So I can say a little bit to this one. This movie was produced with a relatively low budget, so it's most unlikely that they used CGI for this. So the contestant or the actor in this movie got actually restrained for this. So the actor in this scene is tightened in 4 straps. The arm straps are most likely leather or a similar material, and the fabric or shibari rope was worked into it. So she's actually suspended from this leather wrist cuffs, and just for extra visual effects, she holds it, I think, in one of her hands, or maybe it's just a little bit of a visual effect, but it looks like she holds it in one hand and not in the other. The whole weight is sitting on her lower arms, what makes it still a really straining and difficult position, but way more realistic, as the weight distribution is like obviously on a longer or wider piece of body, like the whole underarms in this case. And when we're looking at the legs, it looks like it's a different material used here, but I don't think they just wrapped the rope around her legs. I think it's still a piece of leather or something similar where the rope is worked into. So yeah, this is 100% the most realistic implementation of a bound scenario that we saw in the 3 pictures we went through today. And yeah, I would say this one is really realistic and really well made, and took a decent bit of work to get recreated in a way they created it. So as a last information piece, we just double checked. This movie had a budget of $100,000 US, so everything you saw in this movie was real or like staged as good as possible without use of CGI, just because of budget restraints. With that being said, I hope you enjoyed this video. In case you want to see more videos of this type, check the links out down below or the info box up here. There's gonna be 4 videos every month, 1 every week, where we're talking about TV shows and movies and different scenarios that people got tied up in and how realistic these actually are and if they're practical in real life. So yeah, hit the subscribe button and like button. Leave a comment down below to let us know if you want anything different in this type of videos or have any ideas for future videos. With that said, have a good day.